I must ask about you going to Wimbledon. And
Wimbledon?
Yeah.
You've got the tickets themselves now are starting at £50 going up to 150 each. And you've got to get up early. You've probably got to leave about 4:30 in the morning. And the petrol, when you get to Wimbledon, you've got to have some strawberries. You can't really go to Wimbledon without the strawberries and cream. So, and when you are leaving, nobody really would leave before 8 unless they're going off to something else. And it's a very wearing day, and it's also very costly.
Yes, yes.
But the one thing you can do is you can join the queue, but you've got to be in the queue at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I joined the queue about 3 years ago. It used to be always out on the road, and when you were going home you saw the next day's people. They were queuing and they'd all got blankets or sleeping bags, and a man would come down the road with his van taking orders for pizzas and that sort of thing. And I always used to like looking at the queue, but the queue got bigger and bigger each night, and the Wimbledon Council decided they'd like to do something to get the queue away from the roads. And so there's a park, and that's where the queue goes now. And you can also take your tent and sleep the night there. You're at a special place. And now there's shops and things along there. You know, the side of a lorry will be selling buns and that sort of type of thing. But this means that if you're prepared as a young one to go there with some friends, it's good fun. And the queue moves in at 10:30 in the morning. But there are already people in tents in the park for the next day. And what's also happening now is that you can get a ticket that just takes you in to wander around. But more and more courts now are being made in such a way that where there are 2 grass courts, they take those 2 grass courts away and they make 1 grass court, and they have seating. So that means tickets, and they are cheaper, but I just remember it as I used to. And when the girls came, just been investigating just recently, when the girls came to watch, I don't know what time they left here, probably about 8 o'clock in the morning, I should think. I insisted they had to wear their white gloves and Panamas. But when they came through the gates, they could take them off. And you were allowed to walk anywhere at Wimbledon in the 60s and 70s. Now you can't even get in the gates. There's security, huge security, all the time. But I remember the team always went to a hotel somewhere like Richmond, and the governors decided to pay for the whole setup. The girls arrived in the morning, and staff, and we had Sue Barker playing for Mouse Convent for 3 times when we got to the final, I remember. And if you got to the final, that meant you would either won the north, south, east or west of England. And the headmistress got 2 tickets for the Royal Box. And in the 60s and 70s, we were in the final 7 years on the trot. So Dr. Macpherson got 7 tickets to the Royal Box. And I remember she had a lovely mother. She took her mother one year. She sent the director of physical education and the head of chemistry. They went one year. I went one year with the head. So I knew about the Royal Box. If it was wet and there was no sports hall, I would go and teach a lesson in a form room. And the first lesson I would teach to any girls would be on Wimbledon. I'd draw a plan on the board. They knew the roll box, they knew there was a centre court and number one, and so I used to have little ones. I remember Form 1 going across the road to the field, and when they first started tennis, they had to come across. I stood in the middle, stopping any traffic so it was safe, and they had to bend down and whisper in my ear a tennis player's name. And they all got into terrible difficulties with Martina Navratilova. And they would come and say, Natty, Navrati, and no, think of another one, I'd say, and then I'd say it's Navratilova. And so I was very geared into that, and I loved doing it. And so we had 200 people coming to watch the Aberdare final, normally, and about 10 staff. And one member of staff, she said, "That's Sue Barker, she goes to Mary's Convent and they've got nuns." And she said, "I was sitting between two nuns and they swore when Talbot Heath beat them. They were really angry." And I said, "Well, I'm not responsible for that." But when I got back to school on the next day after the Aberdare Cup final, I saw two girls from Upper 3, and we had a girl from Upper 3 in the team. It's very unusual, but Sue Barker was also 12 when she got into the team. And I said, "Did you enjoy yesterday? It was such a good day." "Oh yes," they said, and then they nudged each other. "Shall we tell her?" So I said, "What have you got to tell me?" "We had our lunch in the royal box." I said, "What?" Well, they knew, you see, where it was. So I just said, "I hope you didn't leave any crumbs." But they had enough intelligence, and this is the good thing about Talbot Heath girls. They had a packed lunch, which they brought from home, and they decided, they knew where the roll box was. So we'll go and sit in the roll box. And I'm just trying to find those two girls at the moment, but I think I know one of them, and she'll tell me what the other one is. They were good days, and I had a girl the other day. I said, "I want to know what you did when you were ball girling." And she said, "Well, when I went to Wimbledon one time to watch the Aberdare Cup," she said, "she got a crush on John Newcombe, who was an Australian. She knew where the number 1 men's changing room was, and she got in there and found his John Newcombe place." I don't know what else happened there, but of course they were never taking security photos in those days. But the girls in the 60s and 70s, they enjoyed their tennis and they knew all about it.